All right, guys, so Hill versus Dern just finished. It's a Sunday here, and I had to get up at 5:50 a.m. to actually watch this entire fight card and then go up and fix my roof afterwards because I had a leaky roof, but that's neither here nor there. I got up at 6 a.m. to watch this card, and to be honest, it was a very fun card. I had a good time watching it. It was super enjoyable. There were a couple of standout fights that I just wanted to cover in my reaction because I don't think they were all great, but the ones that were good, I thought, there's something to talk about here. The first one was Takashi Sato. I was actually really excited to see how he was going to go. It's one of the reasons that I woke up so early this morning to watch the fight live. I was hoping that he could finally break the losing streak and come out with a win because during the week when I was making some of the highlight clips, I was watching some of his earlier fights in his career and it was getting me amped about how good he could be. But I guess that's something that I'm just going to need to be aware of as I'm making the highlight clips. Like, it is just a completely different level once you're in the UFC. So I let myself get a little bit amped and have like a sliver of hope. Like, he's good. He's good. He can do this. He's not. He's not good. And I think he should be cut. I don't think he can stand here in the UFC. He's not going to make it if he keeps hanging out here with the big boys. So fun to watch on the regionals. One of those fighters where like when it's the regional scene and things are sloppy and messy, it's really fun. But then as you start to get into like skilled MMA, not so good. So I think that's the end for Sato. The second one that I wanted to bring up was Chase Hooper. He did great. I thought it was all going to be ground attack from him, but he did great on the feet. And I loved seeing him at this new weight class. I will say though, Nick Ferreira, dude, you got beaten up on the feet by Hooper. That's a problem, man. Like, I don't know how you're going to be going into the gym on Monday and being able to hold your head up high during sparring because the boys are going to be giving it to you, dude. But well done for Hooper. I'm excited to see his career get back on track. I like that now we know he's got a bit of a ground game. He's got a bit of a stand-up game. I think it's going to make the like predictions for what's going to happen in his next fight very, very interesting. So I'm happy to see that. Next one for me to bring up was Ilir Latifi versus Nascimento. I thought Nascimento was going to win. I predicted him to win. When I saw the first round going down and Ilir Latifi didn't have anything on the takedowns, I was like, yes, here we go. He sort of rode him out a bit on round two. But round three was what was actually really annoying me a lot about Nascimento. I don't think I'm ever going to pick him to win another fight again because he pretty much won this one through luck. He could have finished him in the third. Really could have finished him in the third, and he didn't. And it's almost like he chose not to finish him in the third. It was like, I was raging out watching it. I was like, come on, man. Like, where is the killer instinct here? It's one of those cases where you're like, is having a performance bonus not enough? Like, if the UFC put up like guaranteed fight finishing bonuses for every single fighter on every single card, would it force them to chase it harder? Because with the way that the pay structure is sort of set out, where you pay to show and you pay to win, does it like encourage people to take it easy if they do feel like they're winning towards the end of the fight rather than like chase an extra finish and risk losing their win bonus? I don't know if that's what happened there and that's what was going through his head, or like, does this dude just not have the killer instinct in him? You know what I mean? Like, it was annoying to watch. Like, it was fun to watch, but like the fun was that I was annoyed and feeling something. Like, I'd rather be like feeling an awesome knockout than feeling annoyed that you're like holding back, man. Like, kill this dude. It's a cage fight. Kill him. Not kill him, but end him. Speaking of, Oren versus Gilbert. It was a nice TKO. You could tell right at the start of the second round that it was over. Oren sort of looked finished at the end of the first round, like gassed. And yeah, his ribs were clearly hurt going into the start of the second. So when those body shots were coming, it was like, you could. Actually, that is something that I did want to talk about a lot here, was the cornering of Gilbert. Like, there was a moment during the second round where Gilbert goes and lands that body shot, and you would expect his corner to see it. I can understand the fighter not seeing it. That's why I got the third person perspective of the corner being there. And I was waiting for the corner to start calling for more body shots. Luckily, the fighter picked it up on their own and chased the finish, which was great. It was a bit of an early stoppage. I would have liked to see a bit more punishment, but that's all right. It was what it was. And yeah, towards the end of the fight, like as they're getting pulled off each other, you can notice like, is this dude's rib broken? Like I know his ribs look weird as it is, but I think he broke his rib with those body shots. Either way, really fun fight to watch. That's sort of the theme of this card, right? Like the community, we were all going into this card like, oh, this card's a bit weak. It's another Apex fight night. We're going on a break. This is what you're giving us. But like, I'm so happy I got up early for this one. It was a great card. It was fun to watch. There was lots of interesting fights. Like, killer card at the Apex, man. Like, and it's funny, I feel like that happens a lot. Like we go into the week being like, this Apex card, look at this main event, it's crap. And then like as the fights are happening and as we're enjoying the card, like it's not bad, is it? Like we're having a bit of a good time, aren't we? All right, Machete versus Slava Claus. Love me a bit of Slava Claus. And I loved the fight. And Machete going for those eye pokes, dirty, dirty fight. I like the move, but unfortunately, it is illegal, Machete. You cannot rip someone's eye out no matter how hard you try. And it drew blood. And I was stressing, like, don't take Slava out for this, you know? He's Russian. He's based. He will be able to fight on one eye. And he did. He did fight on one eye. And my God, was it awesome to watch. Like, that was so enjoyable to see. There's blood pouring out of this guy's cut up eye. I'm not even sure if he is Russian, whatever. You know what I'm saying. There's blood pouring out of this guy's eye and he still scores 4 knockdowns. Like, awesome, awesome fight to watch. Bit of an early stoppage again, but very fun. How can you talk about this card without talking about Michael Johnson versus Diego Ferreira? Rip Michael Johnson. My God. That KO. So when that KO happened, my girlfriend was asleep in the other room and I was like jumping up and down on my chair, like just holding my hand over my mouth like, oh my God, please, please. Like I was trying so hard not to scream. That KO was devastating. And like that one was one of your classic early stoppages KOs. I'm kidding, obviously. The way that his toes curled as he was flying through the air and then continued to stay curled while he was unconscious for like a good 30 seconds. All jokes aside, if Michael Johnson comes back, it needs to be after a good long rest and he seriously should consider whether or not he should come back at all. That is a career-changing knockout. And Mike's not a young dude. Where are we at with Michael Johnson? 36. 36. Heavy knockout. Really got to be talking to the coaches about that one. Like, what are we doing here? We making one more run? Really? We're making one more run, Michael Johnson? Because if we're not, you know, there's plenty of other avenues. You got yourself a decent name in the fighting community. People know who you are, you know? I don't know what you got going on outside of the UFC, but it's not like there's not opportunities for Michael Johnson out there, especially after that sort of like proper KO. And of course you got Fialho versus Buckley. And then the knockouts just kept piling on. So like before we get to the knockout, let's talk about the actual fight itself. And the biggest thing that stood out for me was Buckley. Buckley is a good fighter when in the second round, right? Buckley looked much better than he looked in the first round. And in the first round, he is just like dancing around. He thinks he's like the main character in a kung fu movie. He's like spinning for no reason. He's like overly throwing fancy shots, like instead of just like jab, leg kick, you know, 1, 2. And then in the second round, when he had like tired himself out just a little bit and slowed down and got into the fight, he was a dangerous, dangerous man. Now, when it comes to the actual knockout itself, I think Fialho got so dazed by that knockout, he was sort of like looking a bit loopy on the canvas and trying to get himself back up. You know those moments when like a fighter's being heavily rocked and then he starts fighting with the ref? I think it's something similar to that was going on with Fialho. Like, oh, that didn't really hurt me that much. But like, dude, you are out. Like, you're pretty much drunk, knocked out at this point. So, you know, when Buckley's in the heat of the moment, the fight's going on, I can see why he wants to run back in, like, put a hammer fist on him and make sure this dude doesn't get back up. Because number one, the ref hadn't actually stopped the fight. He hadn't completely told Buckley to stop. And Fialho has this like look of like, okay, I'll get back up on his face. And that moment happens, you know, damn quick. And I want to see my UFC fighters with the killer instinct. Like, I want fighters chasing finishes, going for a finish at all times. So to see Buckley, like, go ahead and do that, that's totally fine with me. Totally fine with me. That was great. You know, if anything, the refs stopped that fight a little bit early, if we're being honest here. You know what I'm saying? And then his mic skills afterward, like, killed the post-fight interview, killed the fight. Just on the first round, you know, I'm excited you're in there. You're excited you're in there. We're all happy you're in there, Buckley. But in that first round, can we just take 10% off it, please? Just 10%. And just, all right? Because, like, I'm going to back you in your next fight, but I need you to, like, a little bit more of this, a little bit less spinning around. Thank you. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly. Edmund Shabazzian, Anthony Hernandez. I was rooting for Fluffy to win going into this fight. So watching that first round, like, really had me on pins and needles. I was like, come on, Fluff. Surely you got this. And he did. It took him a minute to get into it. And, you know, maybe he's one of those blokes where, like, he needs to get some anger going to fire up. That's another thing that I noticed during the week when I was, like, trolling the internet for clips to make highlights of him out of in his earlier career. He was, like, flipping off some of his older opponents. He was like flipping off some of his other opponents and getting real angry at them. So I think he's just one of those dudes that needs the fire in the belly. And then once that's in there, he goes like Super Saiyan and turns it on and like goes for stoppages. So it was fun. It was a very fun fight. Good back and forth. That's the theme of the whole card, isn't it? Like good back and forth fights. And next time I hear these people talking about, oh, this Apex card is going to be crap, just tell them to shut up. Just like, shut up. Right? Just everyone remember Dern versus Hill. What was it? It was the worst card of the year so far going into this week. And it was awesome. And then we get into the main event. Dern versus Hill. You know, going into it, you're thinking that Dern's going to be doing all the groundwork. Hill's going to be doing all the leg work. Pretty much the second the clock starts ticking down, Dern starts swinging like a mad woman. And Hill is just like, oh, Jesus, I got to take her to the ground. And then Hill gets reminded like, I shouldn't take her to the ground. I should just find somewhere between the ground and the feet and try and fight her there. Which is exactly what she did in the second round, which I think from memory is the only round that she won. But it was like a clinch game. What I enjoyed about it so much is that even when Hill was in the clinch, Dern was always working towards something. And like, yeah, it was a bit frustrating at moments because she'd be working towards something and then she would go and switch to something else. But again, like if I'm going to root for a cage fighter, I'm going to root for a cage fighter that's always looking for a finish somewhere. So, you know, maybe she wasn't overly committing on one thing, even though she was close to getting it. She's like, right, I'm going to try, you know, an arm triangle I'm going to try an arm triangle for a minute. And if I don't get an arm triangle for a minute, I'm going to try some ground and pound and try that for a minute and a half. If I don't get that, I'm going to try some grappling and get back onto the feet. Like, she's chasing the finish of the fight at all times. And I think it's because she's chasing the finish of the fight at all times. And Angie is such a switched on fighter. Like, she has a great fight IQ. The skills aren't there, but she has such a great fight IQ that she can do enough to survive each situation, even if she doesn't have the skills to win each situation. You know what I mean? Like, she knows that she's in a losing battle here, and she knows enough to get out of it. I've been an Angie fan for a long time, and it was hard to like watch that fight and be like, you're done. You're done. Like, your career's over. You're 38. You had some unfortunate robberies during your time here, but now like the skill levels aren't there. The judges obviously hate you for some reason. Like, we can't call the judges racist because like, look what they give Izzy wins all the time. So, you know, Robert Whittaker beat Israel Adesanya. But I don't know what Angie did to the judges, you know? And now that like she's 38, the skill level just isn't there. Like, it's hard to watch that as a fan of her and be like, yeah, it's over. It's over, you know? But whatever. Well done, Dern. It's good to see that she's starting to get some hand skills together as well as some ground skills. You know, everyone, like, we're all going to be like, right, just fill in the wrestling and you got yourself a real threat here. So awesome. You know, overall, like, the fight card was great. I had a great time. I had a great time watching it. That's my little recap of it. That's what I thought. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments, and I will definitely see you in the next video.